The sun hung low over Arlington National Cemetery, casting long shadows across the endless rows of white headstones, each one a silent tribute to a life given for freedom. Amid this sacred ground, a lone figure stood at attention, her silhouette sharp against the golden light. Sergeant Alina Martinez, one of the first women to serve as a tomb guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier, held her M14 rifle with unwavering precision. Her face was a mask of discipline, her eyes fixed forward, unyielding to the weight of the moment. But today something was about to shatter the solemn stillness, a moment so shocking it would change everything. Hey, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join our community to never miss a story like this one. What happened next would test Elena's strength, spark a firestorm of outrage, and reveal the unbreakable spirit of a woman who refused to back down. Elena had dreamed of this honor since she was a girl, growing up in a small Texas town where her father, a Vietnam War veteran, would tell her stories of courage and sacrifice. She'd sit on the porch, her eyes wide, as he described the precision and pride of the Tomb Guards, the elite soldiers who stood watch over the nation's most hallowed monument. It's not just a job, Mija, he'd say, his voice thick with pride. It's a promise to those who gave everything. Elena carried those words in her heart through grueling training, endless drills, and the relentless scrutiny of being one of the few women to earn the Tomb Guard badge. At 27, she was a trailblazer, her uniform crisp, her movements flawless, her resolve unbreakable. But on this crisp autumn afternoon, as tourists gathered to watch the changing of the guard, a group of strangers was about to cross a line they'd soon regret. The ceremony began as it always did, with the rhythmic click of boots echoing across the plaza. Alina marched with mechanical precision, her every step a testament to the discipline that had earned her this post. The crowd watched in reverent silence, phones raised to capture the moment. But in the back, a cluster of young men, college-aged, loud and reeking of entitlement, began to disrupt the quiet. Their laughter cut through the air, sharp and disrespectful. "Yo, check out the chick playing soldier." One of them sneered, his voice carrying over the crowd. His friends snickered, egging him on. "Bet she can't even handle that rifle. What's she doing here anyway?" The words stung, but Alina didn't flinch. Her training had taught her to block out distractions, to focus only on the mission. Still, the crowd noticed, their murmurs growing uneasy as the group's taunts grew louder. The leader of the pack, a tall guy with a backwards cap and a smirk that screamed privilege, stepped closer to the barrier. His name was Chad, though Alina wouldn't learn that until later. "Hey, sweetheart," he called out, his voice dripping with mockery. "Why don't you smile for us? This whole statue thing's kinda boring." His friends erupted in laughter, one of them pulling out a phone to record, clearly hoping to turn this into some viral prank. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, some shaking their heads, others whispering for them to stop. But Chad wasn't done. He leaned over the rope, his face inches from the sacred ground, and shouted, "Come on, Barbie, give us a twirl!" The words hung in the air, a violation of everything the Tom stood for. Elena's jaw tightened, but her posture remained perfect, her eyes locked on the horizon. Inside, though, a storm was brewing. For those who don't know, the tomb of the unknown soldier is more than a monument. It's a symbol of every soldier who never came home, their names lost to history, but their sacrifice eternal. The guards who protect it are held to a standard of perfection that few can imagine. They train for months, memorizing every detail of the ritual, from the 21 steps they take to the exact angle of their salute. For Elena, earning this role meant overcoming not just the physical demands, but the whispers that she didn't belong. Whispers that echoed now in Chad's taunts. As she executed her turn, her boots clicking sharply, she could feel the weight of every eye on her. The crowd was tense, waiting to see if she'd react. But Alina was a professional, and professionals don't break. Not yet. Chad, emboldened by her silence, took it as weakness. "What's the matter? Can't talk?" He jeered, stepping even closer. His friends egged him on, their phones still rolling, capturing every moment of their so-called prank. "Bet she's just here for the gram." Another one chimed in. "Gotta get those likes, right?" The crowd was growing restless now. A few older veterans in the back muttering angrily. One of them, a grizzled man with a silver star pinned to his jacket, stepped forward, his voice low but firm. "Show some respect, son. You're standing on sacred ground. Chad just laughed, dismissing him with a wave. Chill, old man. It's just a show. But it wasn't just a show. Not to Elena, not to the veterans, not to the families who'd lost loved ones. And what happened next would prove it. Elena completed her 21 steps, paused, and turned with the precision of a metronome. But as she faced the tom, something shifted. It wasn't in her movements. Those remained flawless, but in the air around her. The crowd could feel it, a crackle of tension like the moment before a storm breaks. Chad, oblivious, kept pushing. Yo, lady, you deaf or what? Give us something. He tossed a crumpled soda can over the rope, letting it land just feet from where Elena stood. The crowd gasped, the sound sharp and collective. That was the line, disrespecting the tom itself. The veterans in the crowd stiffened, their faces darkening. A mother holding her young son's hand pulled him closer, whispering, "That's not okay." Even Chad's friends hesitated, sensing they'd gone too far. But Chad just grinned, waiting for a reaction. Elena didn't move. Her training demanded absolute control, and she embodied it. But inside, her heart pounded. She thought of her father, his stories of sacrifice, the nights he woke up screaming from nightmares of the jungle. She thought of the unknown soldier, the countless others who'd given everything for this country. And she thought of every woman who'd been told she didn't belong, who'd had to fight twice as hard for half the respect. The soda can lay there, a small but grotesque insult to everything she stood for. The crowd held its breath, waiting for what would happen next. Would she break protocol? Would she confront them? The tension was unbearable, and the answer would come from an unexpected source. Unbeknownst to Chad, the crowd wasn't just a random assortment of tourists. Among them was Colonel James Whittaker, a retired Army officer who'd served 3 tours in Iraq and now volunteered as a docent at Arlington. He'd been watching from the sidelines, his weathered face unreadable until the soda can hit the ground. Now he stepped forward, his presence commanding despite his civilian clothes. "Young man," he said, his voice cutting through the air like a blade, "you've just disrespected every soldier who's ever died for this country." Chad's smirk faltered, but he tried to play it off. "It's just a can, dude. Relax." The colonel's eyes narrowed. "That can is on hallowed ground. Pick it up. Now." The crowd murmured in agreement, their disapproval turning into a low hum of support for the colonel. Unbeknownst to Chad, the crowd wasn't just a random assortment of tourists. Among them was Colonel James Whittaker, a retired Army officer who'd served 3 tours in Iraq and now volunteered as a docent at Arlington. He'd been watching from the sidelines, his weathered face unreadable until the soda can hit the ground. Now he stepped forward, his presence commanding despite his civilian clothes. "Young man," he said, his voice cutting through the air like a blade, "you've just disrespected every soldier who's ever died for this country." Chad's smirk faltered, but he tried to play it off. "It's just a can, dude. Relax." The colonel's eyes narrowed. "That can is on hallowed ground. Pick it up. Now." The crowd murmured in agreement, their disapproval turning into a low hum of support for the colonel. Chad, caught off guard, hesitated. His friends shuffled nervously, their phones lowering slightly. The colonel didn't budge, his gaze locked on Chad like a laser. "You think this is a game?" he continued, his voice rising just enough to carry. "That woman you're mocking, she's earned her place here through more grit than you'll ever know. And that Tom, it's for heroes who didn't get to come home and deal with punks like you." The crowd was fully on the colonel's side now, some clapping, others shouting, "Pick it up." Chad's bravado crumbled. He glanced at his friends, hoping for backup, but they were already backing away, sensing the tide had turned. With a scowl, he stepped over the rope, retrieved the can, and muttered an apology so quiet it was barely audible. But the story doesn't end there. As Chad slunk back to his group, Elena completed her shift. The changing of the guard proceeded, and a new sentinel took her place. She marched off the plaza, her face still unreadable, but the crowd erupted in applause. Not just for her discipline, but for her strength in the face of disrespect. As she disappeared into the guardhouse, whispers spread through the crowd. Who was she? How had she stayed so composed? The veterans in the group nodded knowingly, recognizing the steel in her spine. But what no one expected was what Elena did next, a move that would turn this moment into a viral sensation. Inside the guardhouse, Elena removed her ceremonial gloves, her hands steady but her heart still racing. She wasn't angry, not in the way most people would be. Her training had taught her to channel emotion into action, and that's exactly what she did. She requested a brief meeting with her commanding officer and asked for permission to address the incident publicly, something almost unheard of for a Tom guard. The officer, a stern but fair man named Captain Reynolds, listened as she explained her plan. "Sir," she said, her voice calm but resolute, "I want to honor the Tom by showing the world what it means to serve here. Not just for me, but for every soldier who's ever stood guard." Reynolds studied her for a long moment, then nodded. "Make it count, Martinez." Alina didn't have a personal social media account. Tom guards are held to a standard of anonymity and professionalism that discourages personal publicity, but she worked with Arlington's public affairs team to craft a video message recorded in her full dress uniform, standing in front of the Tom. The video was simple but powerful. "My name is Sergeant Alina Martinez." She began, her voice steady but rich with emotion. "Today, I stood guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, a place that represents the sacrifice of countless heroes. A group of individuals chose to disrespect that sacrifice, to mock not just me, but the memory of those we honor here. I didn't respond then, because my duty is to the unknowns, not to those who seek attention. But I'm speaking now to remind everyone that this ground is sacred. It's not a stage for pranks. It's a place to reflect on the cost of freedom." She paused, her eyes piercing the camera. "To the young men who were here today, I hope you learn what respect means. And to every woman who's ever been told she doesn't belong, know this: your strength is in your silence, but also in your voice. I stand here because I earned it, and no one can take that away." The video ended with a slow pan across the Tom, the words, "honor, duty, sacrifice," fading in over the image. It was uploaded to Arlington's official channels that evening, with Elena's permission, and within hours, it was everywhere. The internet exploded. The video racked up millions of views overnight, shared by veterans groups, news outlets, and everyday Americans who were moved by Elena's words. Hashtags like Fair Tom Wardstrong and Faye Respect the Unknowns trended across platforms. Comment sections filled with stories of other women who'd faced similar disrespect, alongside messages of pride from veterans of families of fallen soldiers. "This is what a hero looks like," one comment read, with thousands of likes. Another said, "Those punks messed with the wrong woman." Even celebrities weighed in, amplifying the message. But the real impact came when the video reached Chad and his friends. Chad's prank video, which he'd arrogantly posted online, backfired spectacularly. The internet sleuths did their work, identifying him from the footage. His name, college, and even his fraternity were exposed, and the backlash was swift. His university issued a statement condemning his actions, and his fraternity suspended him pending an investigation. Chad deleted his social media accounts, but not before issuing a public apology. Clearly coached but still dripping with embarrassment. "I didn't realize the significance of the Tom," he said in a shaky video. "I'm sorry to Sergeant Martinez and everyone I offended." His friends, too, faced consequences, their faces plastered across the internet as the Tom bullies. But for Elena, this wasn't about revenge. It was about something bigger. Back at Arlington, Elena returned to her duties, her focus unshaken. The incident had changed her, though, not because of the bullies, but because of the support that poured in. Letters arrived from across the country, from schoolchildren to Gold Star families, thanking her for her service and her words. One letter from a young girl in Ohio read, "I want to be a Tom guard like you when I grow up." Elena kept that one on her nightstand, a reminder of why she kept going. The colonel, too, reached out, inviting her to speak at a veterans event. "You've got a voice, Martinez," he told her. "Use it." And she did, becoming an unofficial ambassador for the Tom, speaking at schools and ceremonies about the importance of honor and respect. Months later, as the story faded from the headlines, Elena stood guard again, the same golden light bathing the plaza. The crowd was quiet, reverent, no sign of the chaos from that day. But the memory lingered not as a wound, but as a triumph. Elena had turned a moment of disrespect into a movement, a reminder that the Tom, and the soldiers who guard it, stand for something unbreakable. As she marched her 21 steps, she carried not just her rifle, but the weight of a nation's gratitude. And somewhere, her father was watching, his heart swelling with pride. So, that's the story of Sergeant Elena Martinez, a woman who faced down bullies and honored the fallen with every step. What do you think? Could you stay as composed as Elena did in that moment? And let us know in the comments. From which part of the country are you watching this video? Drop your city or state below, and let's see how far this story has traveled. If you were moved by Elena's strength, give this video a like, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories that inspire. Until next time, honor the sacrifice and keep the faith.